Hey everybody, welcome to Etc. Live on the Vibe. I'm your host, Kelly Barrett, and I am super excited for my guest today. People know and love him worldwide as the badass, drug-dealing, gun-packing Cyrus from the Trailer Park Boys, and also as the captivating Kirk from the hit TV series Haven. Welcome, Bernard Robichaud.
Thank you, Kelly. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Very kind.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Bernard is coming to us live from his car. And oddly enough, I'm coming at you live from downtown Saskatoon, where I'm here for Rock the River 21. So checking out lots of great music, Prism, Streetheart, lots of friends of mine. Interesting story, and I'm just going to share this quick because I have to give a shout out to someone. So I had planned to do this show from my hotel room, and I brought everything I needed, Ethernet cables, this and that, and it turns out the internet in the hotel was atrocious. So I was in panic mode yesterday, and I'm calling museums. I'm calling Tourism of Saskatoon that was closed. I'm calling friends that I know that aren't here, and I'm panicking. And anyway, the girl that worked at the front desk in the hotel, and her name is Crystal Dean, she graciously invited me into her home so I could have internet to do this show. So I'm literally filming this from a kind of a stranger's basement.
That's classic.
That's dedication,
only,
though, right?
Only in Canada. Only in Canada.
only in Canada would someone just invite you into their home. And so huge shout out to Crystal Dean and her family for saving my butt today. You know what, Bernard? I would have done this interview at a Starbucks. I would have just shushed everyone.
I don't know how that would go over here in California, but maybe.
Yeah, probably not. I'd probably get shot. So anyway, we're here. You're here. We got a show, and I couldn't be more thrilled. You know, Bernard, you are a talented artist who I've come to learn wears many creative hats: model, actor, writer, comic, and of course, we want to talk about the Trailer Park Boys. But I'm curious. I always like to sort of get a backstory and start from the beginning. So, could you share with the viewers, Bernard, like at what age do you think that maybe you want to launch into this sometimes crazy business?
I never thought about it. I always thought I was going to be play pro basketball or pro hockey. So I never really thought about it. It happened by fluke. I was asked to model for a local designer, and things kind of unraveled from there. I did a series of fashion shows for the top designers in Canada. I went to Toronto. An agent there said she couldn't use me. I was like somebody else she had, and after an hour conversation, she told me she's an actor, and had I ever thought of that? And I said, yeah, me and 10 million other people in California that aren't acting right now, sure.
Right.
And she started laughing, and she said, well, that's probably why you should be an actor, for that quick wit. And, I never, nothing really happened from that. I came home, and I was living with a buddy of mine, and had a troubled childhood, and was starting to act out on that on weekends and getting myself in trouble. And my best friend, he passed away a few years ago now, he said that I was going to end up in prison if I didn't find a better outlet other than beating up people on weekends. So I went to audition for theater school at university and was accepted, and that's how it happened. It wasn't one of those things where you set out early in life or start out as a child actor or any of those things. It was really something that came out because of I need to be able to express myself in a different way.
Right. And, Bernard, I love that you would be candid enough to share that with us, because we joke about the badass thing and, and the fact that you were kind of a badass for a time. But, I really believe that from pain comes growth. And I think when and you would probably agree with this, when we've been through some stuff, I think it probably put you in a good place to deal with the sometimes hard life that can come along with acting, and you have experience in different things. So do you think that in some weird way that you kind of gained some positive out of your challenging childhood?
Most definitely. I'm not sure that I would have changed anything at this point with the way things have unfolded for me. But I think it's early. When you're young, it's hard to understand things and why things are happening and whether they're right or wrong. I don't think we understand those things until we kind of get to an age where we can take it upon ourselves to accept some of the responsibility that we have to move forward, and either get help or maybe we're lucky enough to have the right people around us that show us some support, but life isn't easy, right? I mean, it's always tossing us a little curveball here and there, and it's up to us to kind of bob and weave and figure it out. I always like to think that the universe has a plan for us, and if we keep putting positive things out there, and positive things will happen. And that's kind of how I always look at things, regardless of what was going on in my house as a child or as a young adult. And I was fortunate to have a lot of people around me that that were there for me. I was lucky.
Yeah,
definitely.
100%.
Yep.
100%. Well, you are a Canadian who was born in Boston, and you are in LA now.
No, I'm in Carmel, California, which is kind of Clint Eastwood territory.
Sweet.
Yeah. So about an hour and a half south of San Francisco, but about an hour and a half flight to Los Angeles. So I don't really need to live in LA anymore. I've been lucky enough to be in a position now that I get asked to look at a lot of scripts, and some of them come to fruition, and some of them don't get the funding. But it's nice to be in a position that at least here or recently that that's happening. It's not much fun sometimes standing around auditioning for roles. But I mean, I still get the auditions from my agent in Toronto for lead and supporting lead stuff, and so I take it all when I can get it, and don't worry about the small stuff. It doesn't always unravel the way you think it's going to, and so I don't get too excited unless the contract's signed, and I just take it as it comes, and that seems to work for me. So I'm good for that. I have some projects that are in the works down here right now, animated series and two sci-fi series that I've been lucky enough to be a part of, and another feature film that in Canada in November. So
that's great.
Yeah.
So lots of exciting stuff coming up. Can you tell us the names of the series at all at this point, Bernard? Or
the animated series is called Hazley. It's a children's animated series, a little sci-fi, little Alice in Wonderland. And I don't play the rabbit. I play the raven. So it's a little different. And
raven suits you more than a rabbit. I'm just saying. Just tossing that out there.
You may be right. Yeah, good black that I've been wearing for most of my career as an actor. Yeah, it's not a leather jacket, but it's black feathers.
There you go.
The sci-fi series is called The New, and it's kind of an apocalyptic scenario. So it's yeah, and can't tell you much about the movie right now. So, even though it's telefilm is issued it's in pre-production right now, and a little too soon to talk about.
Okay, gotcha. Fair enough.
But yeah, I didn't get the thumbs up on that one, so I'm gonna wait. I'll wait to talk about it, but it's with Barry Dunn, who was the producer from Trailer Park Boys. So I'm happy to be able to work with Barry again. We've been for a long time, so it'd be good to see him as well. Yeah, nice to be back home.
Speaking of leather jackets, Bernard, I wore my badass leather just for you today.
I left mine in the closet. I wear it enough, I do a bunch of cameos every week, so I seem to be in and out of that jacket even after the show. So you're kind of like a modern day Fonz. Yeah, I've heard that many times. Yeah. I almost did a Comic-Con at one point where Henry Winkler was supposed to be beside me in the Comic-Con, and something happened with his travel arrangements and stuff like that. He didn't make it, but yeah, that would have been fun. I was looking forward to meeting him, actually. Yeah.
So I'm just curious, Bernard, is there a difference in how you're perceived in the U.S. as opposed to Canada? Like, do they still run up to you and call you Cyrus in the U.S., or is that more a Canadian thing? Or, I mean, the popularity of Trailer Park Boys is worldwide, and so I was just curious about that.
Yeah, I know. Oddly enough, I get Cyrus back home in Canada a lot, or by a fan base. But here in California, they know. Generally, they get I get introduced as my name first before they make the connection. So I'm Bernard Robichaud out here, oddly enough, and or Bernie, and so that's kind of a nice change, because I've gotten Cyrus many times in Canada. Even after somebody's asked me my name, they've just gone back and called me Cyrus, which I'm not really sure what the point of asking my name was, but yeah, it seemed, I guess, just easier for those people.
It's like Cyrus is not real.
Yeah. To them, I guess Cyrus was more real.
Right.
But
anyway, he's a great character, and we're going to get to the Trailer Park Boys in a second here, but here's some interesting facts about you. So you also tour North America as a stand-up comic. And
I did some touring, for about 6 years or so as the character. Though people wanted to started out just doing appearances, and the appearances grew into venues wanting more from me, because there were other characters, boys, and were touring and doing their own show, and so they just felt like, why could they have one too? So that's kind of how it started. It wasn't like I planned to go out and become a stand-up comic or do comedy. My hat goes off to any of those guys that can do that on a nightly basis till they find the right mix for their bits in order to make those funny, because it's an ongoing, challenging, and ever-changing kind of thing when it comes to jokes. So it's quite a talent, and so for me, I co-wrote initially with a couple of buddies signed up our stand-up comics, and so we developed it into a one-man show, basically, that revolving around my character, of course, and we inserted some things from the show, and tried to take from my life and insert it into and make it Cyrus-esque, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, so it went from like 1 minute one point, they were happy with 20 minutes, and then I think towards the end it was like an hour and 10 minutes, which is a long time to be up on stage by yourself, and yeah, long time. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I would agree. I love comedians and I have huge respect for them, but I get what you're saying. I think his humor can be so subjective, and so
Well, there's no doubt about that. Yeah, it really will depend on the audience as well, and a lot of things. The area that you're in. One night joke works, and the next night they don't. I think that's what's great about the guys that are out there and bringing in big houses. People have been following them for a long time, so they're ready for their jokes and they get it. So they're ready to listen. Whereas a lot of times you'll go into venues and people, just want to go out or get out, and they're not necessarily listening to you, and or depending on the venue, of course, little stricter in comedy houses, but not necessarily in bar venues or other things where owner of clubs and stuff will bring comics in and hope to kind of bring in more money, revenue. It's a tough. That's a tough gig because you don't know. Some people know you, some people don't. Some people know about the show, some people don't know the character. Wasn't the most fun. Some evenings, some nights it was great, some not so great. So and then that's quite a learning curve, and it's also difficult to be up there and have to sometimes struggle through it because people are just yelling out lines from the TV series at you and interrupting the flow of the joke or the lucky for me, I studied in the theater, and so being in front of people wasn't really an issue. But I wouldn't have wished that one on anybody, to be honest with you. So.
Well, you can just look at it as paying your dues, and it looks good on the resume, and it was an experience that you learned from. And Bernard, I will say, your sheer versatility as an actor, has afforded you some of the most interesting roles. Because you can go from a rough and tumble kind of ruffian to a ruggedly handsome good guy. And you've co-starred and worked alongside some pretty major film stars. Billy Zane and James Caan, Kathy Bates, who I adore. And I'm wondering, is there an actor on your bucket list that you would just love to work with?
Yeah, any of them. I love the Pacino Pacino would be great. There's a list. I mean, Dustin Hoffman would have been great to work with. I think he's brilliant.
Sure.
I know. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there do a lot of great work, and I'm really kind of just lucky to be part of the business and getting work in it. It's not an easy route to take, that's for sure. So, if I was offered something to work with, any one of those guys, De Niro, who knows? Maybe I'll go up to Tahiti, the golf course that Clint Eastwood owns sometime, and he'll offer me a role as offer. I don't know. A lot of people run into him all the time. I've been here 4 years. I haven't run into him yet, but.
Well, if you do, don't you know who I am? Clint.
No,
Come on, Clint.
That would never come out of my mouth.
I know that.
I've been very humbled by the experience of going from unknown to known, and
100%.
I've been lucky. I've been lucky
Yeah.
and grateful for those people that have continued to work with me or offer me the opportunity. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love that, and I love that you're grateful for that. I just, gratitude is such a huge asset to a person. And so how, because I know people are wondering this, how do you become the drug dealing, gun packing badass nemesis on Trailer Park Boys? How did you become Cyrus?
Well, I auditioned for the role, just like most people would, I guess, even though I knew Barry down in Clattenburg. There was no guarantees. I just auditioned with Michael one day. I got a call from Barry Dunn on a Friday night asking if I could come to audition with Michael on a Saturday morning. So I drove full hours to get to the audition and spent maybe half hour, 40 minutes with Michael in a room with him running the camera and chucking obscenities at me and basically calling every name in the book, and I just kind of
Reacted.
rolled with the flow, and there wasn't any subscript for me to read from. So yeah, it was basically how it went down. He called me a bunch of names, and I reacted to those, and they sent the audition tape off to Atlanta that afternoon, and Monday afternoon, Barry called me and said, "You got the role, man. Congratulations." I said, "Okay." I said, "Great, thanks." He goes, "You want to know what they said?" And I said, "Oh, okay." And he said, I said, "Where the fuck did you find somebody like that?"
He's perfect for this role.
Yeah, so that was kind of the end of that. So yeah, that was the beginning.
That's awesome. And so, Bernard, when does it hit you that this show is exploding? Like, when does it hit you? And what was that like when it's like, this thing is going to be, it's huge? Is it almost surreal? Like,
I don't know that we ever knew that initially till like season 3. I wasn't in season 3, but I do remember like in season 2, and Rob Wells and I in the hallway of the school, we were doing a school scene there and high school scene, and I do remember Rob and I talking that we got another 7 episodes, and, like, it was crazy. Look, we get more work. We were excited just to work. We had done 6 episodes initially. We got another 7. It was like doing an actual full season in 2 years. And so we were just really just happy that worked. The mere fact that it went after season 3 or during season 3 that it started to catch fire, and we had no idea that was going to happen. It was a surprise for a lot of us, I'm sure. I guess the rest is history, right? I mean,
right?
12, 11 seasons or something like that. 12, and then 3 animated seasons, 3 feature films, 2 specials. That kind of says a lot. And it's still in Netflix, so it's global now. I mean, it's
And Bernard, like we were just talking, like how humor is very subjective, and yet the Trailer Park Boys brand, of slightly brash in your face, I call it guy humor. It just has this huge following worldwide. And so, what do you attribute the mass appeal of a show that has literally captured a nation? Like, what is it about that show that you just think has that mass appeal to people? I'm just curious.
I think it's cross-generational. Like, we all have grown up with somebody that kind of fits one of those characters' description, and it's easy to kind of identify with, or if you can't identify with one of the characters, you can certainly identify with things that have gone on in your life. Because it's very simple format in essence. I think the writing was brilliant. I think Clattenburg was ahead of his time. I think it really was really where reality TV kind of started. There was nothing like it before that, and then it was everything kind of went, went crazy after that with reality TV and those kinds of formats like Weeds and things come out after The Office and all those other TV series that kind of tried to emulate what he had created. Yeah, he's a big guy. He's a joy to work with, no doubt.
Right,
and I think the best in you as an actor.
That's great, and I think the timing. I think you hit the nail on the head with the reality TV. I think the timing was right. Like, I think people were ready for something like that because it was really a different format, for a show. And I just visualize the Trailer Park Boys set being like a super fun, wacky. Were there shenanigans? I'm thinking there were shenanigans on that set.
Well, I think there's always shenanigans. I think it's just a question of what you can do and what you can't do. I mean, you have to follow a certain amount of a certain, some format. You just can't get from A to B or N to Z without following the plot lines and things like that. I think it's very easy in a kind of a stream of consciousness kind of format that Mike created to kind of like roll the camera and see what happens. I think you can, get lost there. So it's, we all learned a lot from that. It was great that Mike allowed us the opportunity to just kind of ad lib as much as we did, because we did ad lib a lot. And I think that was the brilliance of it, was the ability to just kind of ad lib as much as possible while maintaining some structure of the plot. And so Mike picked a great team.
For sure, that little bit of creative freedom. I thought, I would agree with you that creative freedom to toss in a little bit of your own, your own personality or your own lines, and and then there were just some key lines that just caught on, like 9mm, safety always off. Like, that's a thing. There were just some lines that were short but brilliantly written that just caught on. And a question I do have for you, Bernard, when you because the
safety always off was it none of those lines written.
That was ad lib.
Yeah, that safety 9mm, safety that was up. That wasn't written. Fuck off, I got work to do wasn't written.
That's a great line.
What you pick wasn't written. There was a lot of lines that I was lucky that, I'm not sure why they caught on the way they did, but it's kind of weird to find them in Urban Dictionary or online as just mainstream and your name be attached to them. It's
very cool, though. Very cool.
I guess it's iconic. Yeah.
100% it is. And this, my show is Canadian Icons. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, I do have a question for you, Bernard. I was just curious, with the popularity of Cyrus, was there ever a time when you felt slightly nervous that you might become pigeonholed as that character as far as other roles go?
I always played bad guys. I'm not sure that I was worried about that so much. I mean, yes, there's a lot of people that identify me with. I was lucky, just as, I was lucky. I think that John Dunsworth and I and a couple others still were doing work outside of the show. That meant a lot to me that I was able to, that people weren't afraid. I think, the character was, that was just kind of a crazy thing, right? I mean, other characters have been kind of stuck in that thing, and there wasn't a lot of us that kind of were able to move and bob and weave with that. I was lucky. Jonathan Torrance, another one. John Dunsworth, God rest his soul, another one. we were still doing other work. Yeah, I'm not really sure how that happened. I'm grateful that it didn't. um, but I mean, yeah, I don't know that you could have done anything about it. I think the obscurity of the character and him not being in the series constantly, because it
Right.
seemed like every time he got arrested, he was gone for half a season or something, and he appeared
Even a
periodically.
smaller.
And I think that's what saved me in many ways.
Right.
Um, yeah, because the character seems bigger than life to me. Certainly bigger than my life in
Right.
many ways. I think it's for a bad guy, for people that love to hate that bad guy, I guess it says a lot. I mean, I'm
Yep.
clearly not anything like that guy. Maybe once when I was younger, there were hints of that guy, um, and I certainly knew a lot of them. Growing up in my neighborhood, I had sports, and none of those guys were like that, and I was lucky to be able to be part of those teams and having that kind of family of guys around me that I think kept me out of trouble at a young age, and so yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely a survivor, Bernard. You've been through, you had a bit of a challenging start and, with your upbringing. We've all been through the challenges of the COVID. But you've had some pretty serious health challenges that you've triumphed over and overcome. Um, and you are in fact a prostate cancer survivor.
Yeah.
And and I just want the viewers to know, I don't bring this up to be awkward. Bernard speaks openly about this, and I love that you do, Bernard, because I think knowledge is power. And I think with somebody that has your status, can share their story and get the message out there. If even one person watching this show learns something from that, like one man watches this, and can you share a little bit about what that was like for you?
Well, it's a little strange when you think that you've been an athlete all your life and you've eaten
Yeah.
well and trained and everything else, and then one day somebody tells you got cancer, and you think like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
Um, I think that if the the events had I was lucky to find out I didn't have any symptoms. Um, those are the guys that usually die. 1 in 29 guys are dying from it. 1 in 7 guys are going to get it whether they like it or not. Um, Several different ways to handle it. I guess if I didn't have any cancer outside of the prostate itself, then I would just have it yanked. That pretty much secures your longevity. Leaving it in there and hoping that the cancer is terminated by chemo or radiation or something like that. There's no guarantees of that, and then you've killed all the tissue around it, so you can't
Right.
go in and take it. I, it's there's no reason for anybody to die from it. I think it's 95 or 98% a cure rate. I think there's a lot of guys that are just don't want to get it done because guys I've talked to that don't want the doctor to check their prostate, and I get it, but they can only check half of the prostate, so that makes no sense at all. I think guys at 45 and on should probably just go get a blood test, a PSA test. Doesn't cost anything to have that done, and just get one done every year, because there are cancers that affect the prostate that are aggressive, like mine was.
Right.
And if you wait too long, there may not be any solution. So that's what I tell most guys.
Right.
Yeah, pretty open about it because I think that, I've got a platform and I need to give back somehow.
Right.
And that just makes sense. And you're right. If one guy hears it and I save one life, then
Then this was
bonus.
worth it. Yeah. And today was worth it. Like getting up and getting on this show today. If, guys, you heard Bernard say 1 in 7 men will get this. So, and I get that the test is probably the last thing on your bucket list, but I'm sure the treatments are a lot worse than the test would ever be. So yeah, thank you, Bernard, for being honest about that and using your platform to share your story. I think that's great. And we're going to wrap up here because I know you got a busy day. You're on the road. You have a trip. And you do give back in so many ways by sharing your knowledge on this disease. You give back with entertaining us all the time, and we can't wait to see what you have, coming next. What's next for you? I have one last question before we go. If you,
Yep.
in retrospect, looking back, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Be patient.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a long life ahead of you, and don't sweat the small stuff.
Right.
You
It's
can't
all small stuff.
control you can't control what's not in your. You can't control anything really. I mean, you control what you do from moment to moment, what you got planned out for the day, but what happens during that time is all out of our hands. So you just kind of live life to the fullest. And when people tell you no, I would continue to do what I never listened to those people that told me that. So if anybody else is listening, I would just don't take no's for answers. And,
Right.
But yeah.
And those people that told
I'm
you
not
no,
sure.
guaranteed they're kicking themselves right now, Bernard. All those people that told you no are probably just like stupid.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I'm
I
sure.
appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Bernard, you know what? You're delightful. You are welcome to come back here anytime and share your new projects with us when you can tell us a little more about them. I can't thank you enough for your time today. And you take care and have safe road travel today. Thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. I'm Kelly Barrett. We'll see you next week. Until then, stay safe and be nice to each other. Bye-bye.